Namaste. Today we're going to learn about Rasa Yoga Surya Namaskara. Surya Namaskara is salutations to the sun, and Rasa Yoga, well, we all know Rasa Yoga. I am Padma Shakti, founder of Rasa Yoga, and the benefits of doing a practice like sun salutation are many. But first and foremost, it's remembering that the journey to mastering yoga's challenging postures empowers you to journey through life's challenges with mastery. And one of the greatest ways to do that is to practice a sequence like Rasa Yoga sun salutation. So in this sun salutation, it's a sequence of postures together. And so today we'll go through each of the postures. The benefits that you can expect from this practice over time is you'll start to find that your nervous system feels a bit calmer as you start the day, while at the same time, a sense of being ready with clarity to start the day. You'll start to find and notice that you've got a greater degree of range of motion in your joints. You'll also start to notice that you're going to feel more stable, a greater sense of stability, a greater sense of steadiness, both physically and mentally. So let's get started. So the first position in Rasa Yoga sun salutation is standing, or Tadasana. So as we're standing for Rasa Yoga sun salutation, we'll begin with our feet hip-width apart. And if you're practicing this with me, you want to take a moment and look down at your toes. And as you look down at your toes, you want to spread your toes and then slightly stretch your heels back and away from the balls of your feet. You'll notice that as you look at your toes slightly lifted and spread, you'll start to notice that the muscles around your ankles and in your feet become active. You'll feel a greater sense of stability through your ankles. Next, as we continue to move upward, or as we build from the ground up, we want to pay attention to our knees in standing. So I'll turn sideways to show you. So sustaining that toes spread, instead of pressing, I don't want to press back with my knees, and I don't want to push my hips forward, but instead, I want to have my knees right over my ankles, and the knees are slightly flexed. I want to have the pelvis in a neutral position as you draw in and up through your low belly. Your sacrum, which I'll turn to show you the sacral area, right at the base of your spine. It's a big flat bone there. You want your sacrum, so turn sideways again, your sacrum is moving back and into your hand. Your ribs are lifting up and out of your waist. As you relax your shoulders, your chin draws back slightly. Very important point as far as where you're looking. You want to sustain a gaze or a drishti that is upward. You definitely want to avoid moving through the practice using the ground as a reference point, but instead, as your chin is back, your eyes are slightly lifted. So we begin in standing. My arms are extending downward. You might want to take note of my fingertips as my fingertips are stretching toward the ground. To begin, externally rotate your arms. So I'll do that again. To begin, externally rotate your arms. Your knees may bend a bit more, sweeping your arms up overhead. With an exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward. So notice how the movement is coming from my hips as I go to fold forward. You may need to bend your knees a little more. So whether your knees are mostly straight or bent, the most important point is that you want to sustain a really well-stabilized low back. So we'll come up halfway. Take your hands to your hips. Make your way back up into standing. So I'll review that. So we went through 3 different positions. We started in standing with our feet hip-width apart. Inhaling, you externally rotate your arms, taking them up and overhead. Knees bend slightly, moving from the hips. Exhaling, folding forward. You may need to bend your knees a little more. From this forward fold, drawing up from your low belly and leading with your heart. Take your hands to your hips and make your way back up into standing. So in this sequence, we've started in standing, we folded forward, hinging from our hips, and in the third position, we drew up into a half forward fold. It's from that half forward fold that we start making a little bit bigger movement into lunge. And I'll demonstrate that now. So I'm starting in standing, inhaling, externally rotating arms, sweeping overhead. Exhaling, folding forward. Inhaling, drawing up from low belly, leading with heart. Exhale, stepping left foot back. Notice I'm in a high lunge, and as I take my knee down, I'm now in a low lunge. This is referred to as high lunge, low lunge. I want to create a very stable base by continuing to keep my toes spread, drawing in and up from my low belly. From here, as I lift from low belly, sweeping arms up. So remember, I want to externally rotate, sweeping arms up. From here, heart stays lifted, chin back, exhaling, bending at elbows, fingertips toward my upper back. Inhale up, exhaling, so I make my way down the center line, hands on each side of the front foot. Turning your toes of your back foot, lifting your back knee. I'm going to move on to the next posture from here, taking hands flat to the ground, stepping back into plank. Exhaling, lowering knees to the ground. I want to draw back really strongly on my elbows to lower into Cobra, Bhujangasana. Really strong posture where I want to keep my legs very active, lifting from low belly, ribs out of waist, shoulders back, chin back. Your eyes are lifted. Turning your toes, press up to all fours, and then to go back into downward facing dog. I want to lift knees slightly, pressing hips back and up, downward dog. So I'd like to pause here for a moment with a few words on downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. This can be a challenging pose to go into because most often we feel a sense of wanting to shift our weight into the hands. So as I come into all fours, and as I'm preparing to go into downward facing dog, you'll turn your toes, you lift your knees, and then look closely as I press back. So I'm pressing back, and that pressing back is happening by drawing from my low belly, moving my hips toward the back wall. Notice my elbows are soft, and I'm pressing back. So I'm very strong through my low belly. Let me take this from the side. So in all fours, turning toes under. Lifting knees, my weight's gonna shift into my hands. So I'm lifting my knees, and I wanna pull back from my low belly. So I'm continuing to pull back. Arms are strong, and I'm pressing back as I draw back from my low belly. You can keep a slight bend in your knees. So together, walk your feet up to the top of your mat, if you are practicing downward dog with me, and come back up into standing. So what we've done so far is we started in Tadasana. We started in standing. This is the beginning of Rasa Yoga Sun Salutation. So we start in standing. Second posture, and then the transition that goes along with it, is you inhale, externally rotate your arms and sweep arms up. Bending knees, exhale, fold forward. Drawing up halfway. Stepping back from high lunge, exhaling, knee down, low lunge. Inhaling, drawing up low belly, lead with your heart, arms sweep. Exhale, keeping your heart really lifted, bended elbows, arms strong, fingertips toward your upper back. Inhale, hands up, exhaling, down the center line. Turn your toes, lift your back knee, step back into plank. Exhaling, lowering, knees to the ground. As you make your way to your belly, you're strongly supporting your spine as your heart is lifted in this nice thoracic extension, Bhujangasana Cobra. I'll press up to fours, inhaling. And here comes that down dog, pressing back and up. So notice I'm pressing back and up. Now you'll take your lunge to the other side. Rolling up high onto your toes, shifting your weight forward, your left foot steps. Lower from high lunge to low lunge. Repeating what we did on the other side. Inhaling, arm sweep. Exhale. Inhale, hands up. Exhaling, down the center line. Hands each side of the front foot. Turn toes, lifting your back knee. Step back to plank. Exhaling, taking your knees to the ground. As you're making your way to Cobra, you're very strong in supporting your spine, and you're really lengthening and extending your spine. Inhale, pressing up from your low belly. And remember, hips move back and away from your hands. From here, we want to inhale, and you can walk up to the top of your mat, knees bent, remember, straight or bent, but most importantly, moving from your hip. Inhaling, arms sweep out and up. Exhale, arms down by your side. So Rasa Yoga Sun Salutation, you may notice some recurring patterns. Couple of notes on it and recurring patterns. You'll notice that inhale generally happens when you're opening up, when you're expanding, when you're preparing. Exhale generally happens when you're expressing the most effort, when you're closing in, when you're folding forward. So that gives you a general idea on breath. It's not just set really strong. The most important thing is that you're breathing, that you develop the capacity to move and breathe at the same time. You might also notice as well that you want to have your movements initiated by your inhale and exhale. So to close our time together, I will go through Rasa Yoga Sun Salutation, and I'm going to practice moving through the entire salutation, Rasa Yoga, Surya Namaskara, following my own breath. Thank you so much. We'll see you in class. Namaste.